came here from Hinton and took over. And so kind of looking forward to his presentation, but mine, okay. Right now, there's been a lot of changes in the staff at the detachment. We're seeing some of the older ones move on, and George the sergeant, George Cameron, is currently on a medical leave for 3 months. So we've been making do, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. The dog position. Now, I realize. Are you listening, Chris? Yeah. I can't give you a date when that's going to happen. I can't. Now, I think that the CO had indicated to you that because they had run 2 cycles and tried to get somebody to apply to the promotion of corporal and move here, we didn't have any candidates for whatever reason. However, they did say that we would get a recruit out of the next class. But I don't know when that's going to be. So in the meantime, we're going to continue to rely on our PDS services out of Grand Prairie and High Level. We're just as much waiting in anticipation for that position to be filled as council is. Absolutely. So I just don't have a definitive date. I couldn't tell you if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I don't know.
When do they usually graduate the dog handler?
They run courses in the summertime. So realistically, we could be looking at fall of 2019. And I inquired. I made lots of phone calls. I tried to lobby on behalf of High Prairie, but that's what I was told. So if something does come up that we do get somebody short term, like sometimes medical things or compassionate things or family things come up and people have to move back to their home area, if that comes up, then we'll get somebody sooner. But my thoughts are probably fall of next year. So I'm sorry to break that to you, but that's what it's looking like. Aside from that, I'll turn the floor over to Corporal Lawson. You're welcome.
Was going to be a little bit more prepared. I just got Warren to grab me a couple things here, but yeah, I guess. So I came into the unit in, I guess, a year ago in November. Last year, I think we did about 36 files, and
we do have your report that you sent to
okay.
town.
So I've been sending those monthly to every 2 months, trying to anyways. So yeah, I pretty much got a stack of those here if you guys want to go over any of those. But this year alone was actually a pretty record year. We did about $62,000 in seized drugs. One of our largest seizures was up at Capuano, where we got what was it? About 280 grams of cocaine. So that's the biggest amount that we've seized since being here. As far as I know, I was here before, and we never touched that amount before. So our biggest part is intelligence. We're constantly meeting with people, talking to confidential informants, trying to get enough information to do drug seizures and search warrants on vehicles, houses, anything like that. In saying that, we also help out the new WAD crew, crime reduction unit. They recently had a bust in Drewville, which was somewhat reliant on the information that we were providing. So everything around the area, we try to throw intelligence to whoever needs it.
You see the dog? asset?
Very much.
And it's hurting you right now?
Yeah, like, we had a search warrant that we conducted a few weeks ago, or I would say a month ago now, and lost. We didn't necessarily get what we were looking for, but we did seize, I think, 15 firearms and a bunch of prescription pills and stuff. Now, if we had the dog, we would have been able to utilize it to go through the house and see if there's anything else that we missed. So, like, the majority of the drugs and guns that we seized were in one specific area. So we don't know if the guy was hiding it in the bushes or anything like that, but it's definitely an asset.
You still have access to the dog and from other areas, it's just we have to share that access, so.
I understand it comes like from high level, so it's a bit of a challenge for you guys to do it in a timely way.
It can, yeah, can be a challenge.
So, like, a lot of our stuff is very timely. So if we get information, we like to react as soon as we can, right? Like, we might spend a month on an investigation, but then we get the right info, we have to act. So if we're waiting for a dog for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, who knows, it is a pain. And it would be very much utilized for not just us, but everyone in the whole detachment, so to say. Yeah, just going back to what we kind of see this year so far. Yeah, we're also involved in multiple vehicle seizures that have been stolen. Even recently, there was a press release that was sent out, which we assisted on search warrants and stuff for these vehicles, and we got them. Everyone that was located, especially the Scott Parker guy that keeps getting away from us. Oh, I wouldn't say us, but they release him. But yeah, back to specifically our general duties. We've taken 67 files this year as opposed to last year that was 36. So the unit's definitely rolling, and it continues. We keep continuing to get more and more information and helping alert, helping Grand Prairie crew, and even now there's GI, which is a regional GI team that we're going to be assisting too. So,
Just in comparison, we, as a detachment, take approximately 2,800 files a year, give or take, plus or minus, depending on the year, right? So when he talks about taking how many?
67.
67, they only pertain specifically to drug and drug intelligence.
Specifically for our unit.
As well as they assist, they may not take primary carriage of the file or the investigation, may still stay on the detachment side, but they'll assist with that. So they do a lot of the behind the scenes support in terms of the warrant writing, the surveillance, the intel, and then the ultimate search.
Yeah. Generally, like, the people in our unit are very specialized. Surveillance, search warrant writing, talking to people that don't really want to be talked to, statements. And as a support to the detachment, we're able to utilize our skills and help the other members out with what they want to do.
You also do crime reduction.
Yeah, and the whole crime reduction, habitual offender management, we mainly have 2 targets that we check on regularly. And these people are prolific offenders in the community that keep breaking into things or keep shoplifting and going around that route. And we're trying to keep them isolated to, if they're on house arrest, make sure that they're at home during their hours of house arrest or curfew. And just by like periodic checks and stuff like that. So yeah.
Certainly, I mean, as an assisting unit to the detachment, they certainly provide the extra service that quite often just general duty members don't have the time to necessarily do. They do so much proactive behind the scenes work, whereas most of my members anyway are in the throes of reactive policing, you know, in this day and age with our workload. And we are one of the busier northern police services. It's nice to have a unit that can specifically just focus on the drugs. It's not to say that the general duty constables don't pick up information and pass it along. It's just when it comes right down to working the file, it has to be the plain clothes GIS members because it's just so hard to peel off uniform and put them towards the investigation. But most certainly are available on the day of the search.
Councillor Gilroy, you had a question?
I was asked by some people in the community who have actually been, they've had some of their break-ins, to ask you about the potential of bringing back a COPS program, Citizens on Patrol.
Excellent. Okay, and I was going to bring that up before I left. All right, so pretty much everybody knows what the COP program is, Citizens on Patrol. And just for those that don't, but everybody's shaking their head that they do. It is a sort of a nonprofit group, not run by the police, but run by themselves, that work with the police and do proactive patrols through the community and basically look for anything suspicious people, vehicles, circumstances, and then they relay that information to the police. They're not supposed to engage because it could be quite dangerous. But and it's been very, very successful in other communities, and I think we had it at one point, but it kind of went the way of the dodo with the Rural Crime Watch. Now, I've been approached by the county to reactivate or try to reactivate Rural Crime Watch. So we have started putting efforts forward to have an open house in February to try to get it going again. The COPs, I guess that would go hand in hand really with Rural Crime Watch, right? I certainly think it is advantageous, and it's been on my mind ever since I started working on Rural Crime Watch to try to see if we can't get any interest generated again to start the COPs. We have the capacity to assist with that. What I can do, though, rather than take up council's time, is Alan Bloom is an excellent resource that I use because he's been here forever, right? So he might be able to point me in the right direction as to who was the executive on the COPs before they folded, and maybe I can start there.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Any commitment from the regional guys for a member for you, Brent? Because I know you, the guy that was Lakeshore, yeah.
They do have a member lined up, as far as I know. It's just a matter of their resources coming into effect and them being able to provide that member when they're releasable.
Dale was still recruiting last that I heard.
Yeah, and you know, you could probably talk to Dale. Dale just has some resourcing concerns at the moment, but once those are ironed out, I'm sure that he'll be able to send a member our way.
Okay.
Yeah. We're just giving him a little bit of room there.
Any other questions? One more? Okay.
Is there anything that either the town can help you with to help you better serve, or that the citizens can help you with? Since we do have a member of the press here and we are online, is there anything that they can help make your job more effective?
Locking their doors.
Locking their vehicle doors. You know, in this day and age, it's funny because sometimes I consider myself very old school, right? And in this day and age, it's all about social media and what goes on Facebook in town and things like that, and a lot of information and misinformation gets out. When it comes to releasing information to the public from our detachment, we have to be very, very careful as to what kind of messaging we give out. But I think that we're going to have to develop a strategic communication strategy to inform the town. Now, I know that there's other, maybe larger municipalities that actually manage communications people, and maybe, I'm not suggesting a Twitter account or anything like that. We're not doing that. But even if somehow we could just send out generalized messaging on a Facebook page, I need to do more research to that, because I think that there's definitely an expectation from the people of High Prairie that they would like more information. And it's not just our news releases that we send out periodically. They'd like to know. For example, last week we had all those break-ins to the vehicles, right? But by Friday we had it, or was it Monday? We had somebody in custody.
By, end of the week.
Yeah, it was Thursday or Friday, we had somebody in custody and we had property recovered. I think one thing I'd like to see in my time here is I'd like to develop a better communication strategy so that we do send out messaging, but it just has to be structured. We obviously can't participate in some of the discussion threads that go on in town. Ours has to be very general. But in terms of what you can do for us, to be honest with you, Mayor and Council have been incredibly supportive to our detachment. I'm always looking for more people, but I'm no different than any other detachment asking for more people. They say, well, maybe next year. Obviously, I have a vested interest in keeping the integrated drug unit running and continue on, just because I see the benefits and the results of their efforts. The COPs is a really good thing. Crime reduction and community programming is very much why I'm here. So moving into 2019, we'll be looking at trying to resurrect a COP, and I'll be working with the town with regards to that, because perhaps we'll need a venue to host an open house. We'll need maybe advertising, that kind of thing, just to try to generate that interest. We'll help get it set up and started. We don't really manage it. Same thing with Rural Crime Watch in the rural side. We're going to working on that as well. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, I don't know. Is that fair?
You should be a politician, I think.
I admire those that commit to the cause. But, yeah, I don't have anything on the tip of my brain right now that I'm going to come to council with and ask for at the moment.
Okay.
Councillor Rose.
Just one thing further to your development of a communication strategy, and you talked about Facebook, and basically it sounds like you'd like to get quicker general messages out there, like lock your cars, there's sort of a situation happening, and just so those reminders. Is that sort of what you're talking about? The town and county both have Facebook pages, so instead of recreating something complicated that you guys have to manage, maybe just being able to send those messages to who looks after communication between the town and county. Maybe we can help out in that way, because those messages get out on social media and on discussion groups, and it's a quicker way to let the couple thousand people that are looking at Facebook know.
And I really like that idea, because it'd be very difficult to have a Facebook account managed in my office, and it would be infinitely easier just to send an email to whoever's working the account and to send out the messaging as it's given to them, right? Yeah, exactly. I would like to explore that further with my communications people, just to see what kind of rules and red tape around it. If there's none, then it's a fairly easy request to make.
And I'm assuming you have to ask the CAO.
Oh, of course, absolutely, we would, for sure. But I mean, I'd like to see on my end what I'm facing in terms of trying to develop something locally, because they always like it going through Stratcoms in Edmonton, and then it goes out to AB Media, it's called. Whereas what we're requesting is just something local. I appreciate that.
And then it gets from our town website into the discussion boards, and then it's...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not a discussion item where it's posted. It's, here's
No.
the statement, and then...
Yeah, like we
It's
wouldn't
discussed
necessarily
somewhere
be
else.
responding to anything. Like
Exactly.
don't get me wrong here, guys. I read Facebook, but I don't reply. I don't. The other thing too is the crime mapping. We had approached council, and we're starting this crime mapping program where every day one of our public servants goes in, our clerks, goes into our database and looks at the different property crimes that have occurred in the area, and then maps them in town and out of town. I don't know if anybody's seen that. We were supposed to have links set up on the various town and county websites.
I saw it in Peace River.
Okay.
Not here though.
Okay. So that's something else for people to look at too. So just if they're interested. I mean, We don't put the exact location, like we don't put the exact person's house. We'll just put like the street or the range road within 10 kilometers in the rural area, that kind of things. We don't want to advertise.
All right, no other ones? Well, thank you very much for coming in and sharing that. We really appreciate the update and the good work that's going on out there, so thanks again.
Look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't have any action tonight with all of this icy roads. Yeah. And just for the record, we heard that Atco and Amanda probably are not going to be making it here tonight with the icy roads. So we'll move on to public delegations, and we might even have one tonight if I...
I like this side.
Yeah. And you got the mic there? Yeah, you can.
Do I have to turn it on?
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Oh, Jesus.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And put it towards you.
Like that?
There you
God. It's all this fancy technology.
go. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess for the record, my name is James Weichel. So I got a question here about garbage. I like the idea of these garbage bins that you've got from the new outfit GFL. What concerns me is the size of them. They're not bad, but some people aren't going to be able to contain all of the garbage in there. Has council at all looked at curbside recycling and the costs associated with that?
Well, I can let CEO handle that one.
We haven't looked at that as of yet. We thought the 1 can limit, which Green for Life has offered the town, would push people more to the recycling bins and that. So for the ones that have the bigger lots in town with grass and that are bagging their grass clippings and whatever else, I noticed today that we did get some bag tags in, and that'll be coming to council here very soon as to set a price on them so they can be set in our fees bylaw. So first it'll go to the bylaw review committee, and I believe you guys already discussed some of it already. So it's in the works, but the blue box bin at the curbside has not been looked at, right?
Okay.
They give a quote the last time when the
It was just not affordable.
garbage.
What was it?
I can't remember.
Like $20?
I don't know.
Can't
I wouldn't
remember,
say.
yeah.
It was substantially more than the quote that we chose, which was Clayton.
Right. Okay.
And actually, unfortunately, what we found was that the reason, part of why we don't have that service anymore was the amount of garbage that we collected, the tonnage
With the dumpsters.
exceeded what he could make his business viable with.
Yeah. Well, I kind of figured that was going to happen.
Councillor Gilroy.
Mr. Wakel, just to assure you, as part of the bylaw committee, there's a number of things we have talked about. Not only did we talk about bag tags, we figured that when we brought it back to council, we would actually increase the discussion. We had a number of other concerns to do with recycling and other fees, as well as dealing with some of potential concerns of the business community where there's illegal use of private containers by people. So we had, as a bylaw people, just last Thursday, we prepared a preliminary so we could actually open a larger discussion, because there's also the suggestion that our bins may be smaller than the ones in Slave Lake, and we want to check that stuff out too. So there's a number of things we're working on. So I want to assure you that I'm glad you brought it up to make it public, but we are going to be dealing with that when the bylaw comes forward.
Okay. Well, because guaranteed businesses are going to see a lot of residential garbage put into their dumpsters, and it's such a pain when you have to lock them and unlock them. Okay. Well, that was really my big thing. Was if you're going to go essentially you put a bag limit on, is what it is. And curbside recycling, I really believe, would alleviate lots of that composting, grass clippings, stuff like that. Well, that's another creature entirely. But if you could separate all of your cardboards and your plastics out from the stuff that is truly trash, your tonnage at your landfill is going to go down. And I really think at one point, when I was on recycling back in the day, curbside recycling will increase the amount of recycling that comes out of the community probably by 50 to 75%, if not more, simply because it's convenient. Put it in this bin, it goes down there, and it goes to where it needs to go. And none of this pre-sorting stuff, just everything goes into a blue bag, essentially, and it gets sorted at the plant. That way, people aren't going to be essentially illegally dumping into businesses, dumpsters, and that. Is GFL also taking care of the recycling spot there? Does the business community pay anything towards that at all, towards the recycling depot?
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Just curious.
They were supposed to make their own arrangements for recycling.
Okay.
Because most businesses would probably, like when you had McLeod's, the amount of cardboard that they would generate would probably fill the bins and take away from the county and the town's residents. So
Yeah. Well, and
that's why they were asked if they had a great amount of cardboard, they were to have their own bin. And
which is what we've done at where I work there. We've got a bin. The amount of cardboard we generate is just insane. I'm sure IJ and Super A are the same way. Well, that was my big thing. Was curbside recycling was always sort of a gold mine that we never did get around to implementing. If it's something that can be looked at, do you have any idea, ballpark, what the extra bag fees are going to be for the extra bags when it's garbage day?
Yeah, we had we've worked with 2 different suggestions, but we wanted council to finalize it. All we're going to do is make sure the bylaw people want to just go beyond the cost of production of the bag tags, just a little bit beyond that. So, just so we're not spending money that isn't there, and we're not trying to make any money off of it. So it's.
Okay. Is there a timeline on that?
I wish Marion was here. I guess it's yours, Brian.
no, there's
Okay.
We'll need to have it out pretty quick because
Monday.
No, we're still all right because GFL doesn't start until
Monday.
Oh, Monday. Sorry, I was thinking. Yeah, you're right.
The last week.
Yeah, this week. Yeah, you're right. So
I think what we're looking at, and the public works guys were looking at, is generally in the summertime when the grass clippings and that become more of a problem. We will have to have something in place for sure before that. So, but it's coming right away, I would think, after the bylaw review committee.
As far as the grass clippings and composting stuff, did we not at one point try an experiment at the town shop to have people be able to bring their grass clippings there?
We did.
How did that work out? I remember.
It was good for the first while, and then when people found out where the spot was where the grass clippings were dumped, then all of a sudden they would go back there, throw their clippings in there, but they wouldn't take them out of the bags. So all we were doing is re-rolling the grass clippings, soaking them down with water, throwing a little sand in with it to mix it. Mm-hmm. But it got abused after probably about a month.
Because they weren't taking them out of the bags.
Because they weren't taking them out of the bags. They just
lazy such and such and so and so's. All right. Okay. Well, that's everything I had. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just one comment. I was been sort of looking at the bins as I've been traveling around in other communities, and you see these in Whitecourt and Slave Lake and other communities. They're all on the same sort of system, and our bins are the same size as these other ones.
I kind of figured
They're
they were.
very, very consistent looking, somewhat different, but the same. Ours are a reasonable size compared to others too.
Other communities that are using these bins, do you know if they've got curbside recycling? I don't think they've got it in Slave Lake, do they?
Slave Lake does, but what I've heard, and this isn't proven, is that the money in recycling isn't there, so they still pick it up as curbside, but then they just throw it in their pit so that's what I've been told. I don't know if it's true or not. I've just said this is what the citizens, because I have lots of people at the college that I chat with, and they say this is what we think is happening. So.
Well, some items, glass for instance, it just gets ground up and dumped in as fill. Cardboard, there's really not a lot of money in it right now. So
yeah.
I talked to one guy that was stockpiling it, and because there was one point where cardboard was so valuable on the recycling market where people were dumpster diving for cardboard, and that lasted about 2 months, and then the bottom fell out of it. So guys are stockpiling it. And,
yeah, I don't think the market's there for recycling right now to make it worthwhile, and it was before,
yeah.
But they didn't, like, from what I've heard, and again, it's not substantiated, is that they didn't want to cancel the recycling because they got it in place, everybody's trained, but until the market comes back, they're not truly recycling.
It's just a feel-good thing at the
door. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Right. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thanks for coming in, James.
That's what I do.
Okay, so moving on, we're to the fire chief's report. Can I get a motion for this one? Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, we just have to find it again now. There we go. Thank you. Okay, I'll move that the council receive the fire chief's September and October 2018 reports for information.
All right. I know I had a good chat before the meeting on all of this stuff, but does other people have questions on his report? Councillor Stenhouse.
I read this report a couple of days ago, but what I'm looking at or concerned about is when you're recruiting for firefighters, we're calling them volunteers. But does the public really know that it's not a true volunteer, that it's a paid position? Will that help bring in recruits?
I don't think so, because when I put ads in the paper and when we talk to people, we do mention that they do get paid for responding to practices and fires and stuff like that. So they do know that they get a little bit of an honorarium. So I don't know. I don't think it'll help. Because our honorarium, you don't really get that much at the end of the year. Like, you know, the average person gets anywhere from $500 to $800 at the end of the year, which is not really a big deal.
No, but it could work as an incentive to bring people in, to know that it truly, you're not just, because my definition of a volunteer is you're giving your time, and people just don't have the time. Where if they know that this is actually a paid position, that they are getting paid for their time to compensate for whatever, their gas, babysitter, whatever it might be.
But like I said, we do let people know that they do get an honorarium of sorts. So they know they get paid a little bit, so.
And they get to use the fancy new sauna and the weight room and the pool.
All the perks, the pool passes, and like I don't myself. I haven't seen this advertised. That there's incentive to join this fire department.
I put a lot of stuff on Facebook. I put a lot of ads on Facebook. I put quite a few in the papers. I don't know. Maybe I could advertise more. And maybe mention a little bit more that we do pay.
Even if it was something like, and I think Judy's probably made a good point here, because because you're right, if you don't think that if you say volunteer, it is truly
Right.
volunteer. But there are a few perks even. So, I mean, it's not a very big amount of money, but even if you say call us for honorarium details and our perk incentives, then they say, oh, there's something there. Right? Then when they make the call, maybe somebody would make the call because there's something more than just straight up volunteers. Because we aren't really breeding a group of volunteers. We're not raising the group of volunteers, right? We're hearing that over and over again, that people, they're not trained to be volunteers, right? So if they do feel like they have some time and they are interested in helping out and they knew there was some perk, right? If they found out about the free passes to the swimming pool or something ahead of time, maybe people, I mean, I know that you're saying when they call in, you're telling them, but you got to get them to make that phone call first, right?
Yeah.
So maybe those, you know, call us about our honorarium and benefit options.
Right.
Then they can actually just,
Okay,
you don't have to
I can-
list all the details. You can just.
I can try and take a different approach to our recruitment and see if we can do something different.
All right, Councillor Gilroy.
Well, I appreciate all the different things you host, including this Friday, where you're going to be hosting Santa and some other things. Is it possible that, and I don't know if you do this, to have a firefighter ambassador there? One or two of your firefighters that allow the kids to try on some turnout gear or something like that in order to inspire them to get their parents to also consider, since you have a large group coming in at that point, and have a list or on a board some of the things that Councillor Rose just talked about, swim passes and a couple of these things, so that we combine some of these activities so that when they're in their fire department, they see these things. Is it possible to do something similar to that? I know it won't take away from Santa, but so it can be also something fun like that too.
We do when we do school tours and stuff. We do take the kids. We have them dressed like we dress them in uniforms and stuff, and put helmets on them. But we have to be very careful as well because our uniforms are full of carcinogens, as you all know, and we don't want to be having kids putting on these uniforms and.
That's okay, you have the sauna. No, but I mean, in this case, you have parents that are actively there.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm thinking is when the kids come over, it's great. You have one or two teachers with them. But when Santa's there, both one or two parents are actually coming with them. So there's more adults that actually will come into
and we're going to have a recruitment table set up this weekend, Friday. So there will be a recruitment table set up and a couple of guys sitting there doing recruitment.
And selling swag, right?
Well, I don't know, we don't have too much swag for sales.
I would just like to congratulate you and your staff for your Halloween door, I guess we could call it. I've heard that it was quite the big hit.
Yeah.
On Halloween.
I got a couple crazy ones.
Knocking on the door and you open a door and people were quite thrilled with that.
Yeah, that went over well.
Yes, people were talking about it all over. It's like, wow, the fire department. It's like, okay. And stuff, and then...
yeah, they went around town and they were passing out candy on the streets and stuff, and just... it went over really well this year.
People were impressed with that.
Pardon me?
On a door, were they delivering candy?
No, they had a door, and they would hold it up in front of your door in your house and then ring the doorbell, and you come out and you knock on the door. They would open the door and they'd hand a bunch of candy to them.
Candy, so it was quite the hit. And I also attended the open house that you had there. It looked like you had a fairly decent crowd come through there.
Yeah, we did have a really good crowd. Yeah.
And people were quite impressed, and
But no hot dogs.
except no hot dogs. I was forced to have a fat hot dog, but I think you're trying to do the best that you can in terms of trying to attract people and stuff, and I mean, that's a select group of people that choose to do that. It's not for everybody. And
It's very tough. Like, we had a call yesterday where one of our firefighters, we had an accident we were called to, and the vehicle hit the ditch and caught fire. And on the way out, one of our firefighters found out it was his brother that was involved in the accident. And then we got there, and he was missing, and we had to go look for him. And I mean, that's touches pretty close to your heart when.
Well, it does, and in a small town, pretty much every firefighter knows somebody or is related to somebody.
Right.
That's sort of just the nature of the beast. But I commend you on the work that you're doing and keeping the town and its citizens safe. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that, and I know recruitment is a challenge in our community, but you talk to other communities and they have the same challenges. It's not...
I think it's right across the whole country from all of North America, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's the same problem. So.
Yeah, and you've managed to keep a good complement of people here and going, so that's good. Just one question. I'm curious on all of your hours when you talk about total man hours and you add up how many responded and the time they were out. There's always an extra hour added on. Is that the paperwork side of things that you just, okay. No,
every officer in charge, when they get back to the hall, they spend at least an hour, sometimes a little more, filling out all the reports, all the police reports, all the fire reports. And then they fill all that out. Then it comes to me, and then I file the reports and send them into Fire Commissioner's office. So
that's what I kind of figured. I just thought I would check, but yeah, great. All right. Seeing no other questions, we had a motion to receive his report for information. All those in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Moving on to our minutes of November 13th meeting. I get a motion on those. Councillor Rose.
The council approved the minutes from the 2013, from November 13th, 2018 regular meeting of council as presented.
Okay, and we'll last on, is there any corrections? No, they must be accurate then. Councillor Gilroy.
Page 20. Deputy Mayor Debbie Rose.
Marion showed me that, and we fixed it already on our end.
Okay. Oh, good catch.
And there's another one.
Oh.
I'm just trying to confuse you.
Oh, no. Yeah, it does.
Where is it?
Is that very beginning?
Okay.
Technically.
No, it was from the agenda. It says that it was reviewed by Vern Walker, acting CAO. Yeah. It's a different one.
Okay, what page are you looking at? Sorry. Oh, this was just on the, okay, that's not the actual minutes. Yeah, okay, gotcha. This is the request for decision that it was on. Yeah, okay. Okay, no other changes? So we had a motion with to approve it with the one change. We're good with the one change? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Moving on to our October financial report. Councillor Stenhouse.
The council received the financial report for October 2018 as presented for information.
Okay. Any questions for our treasurer? Or do you have anything to add to this?
No, everything seems to be similar to the past few months. It's rolling along quite smoothly. No unexpected expenses or revenues. It's just a little bit of ahead of budget, so we're doing good.
Well, not just a little bit, quite a bit, it looks like.
I don't like to get too optimistic in case something happens the last month of the year. But it's looking good so far.
One of the things I would like to just ask about is, and it might be sort of a combination, but we had put in an extra $100,000 to catch up on our facility upgrades, because we had the report that says this is the work that needs to be done on our buildings. We wanted to catch up on a lot of the stuff. The Amoresco report, that's it, that's the name. So did we catch up on all of that stuff?
No. And I know that I've spoken to the Public Works Department and asked them if they can get a few of these things done before year end. And whatever does not get done, I will be asking council to put forward till next year.
So that's part of the money in there, is still that getting it? Okay.
Just to let council know, we did discuss this actually the last couple of days here, and there is stuff in the report that was to be completed within the next couple, 3 years that we've already done it. So in some instances, we may be behind a little bit now, but in other cases, we are ahead in some. So.
And that applies to both the operating budget and the capital budget. We had, like you said, about 100 and some thousand in the operating, but we had, I believe, another 100 and some in the capital for larger project dollars. The items that are usually under 10,000 we can't put through the capital. They have to go through the operating, and because they're not big enough to qualify as capital. But yes, we'll see what happens, but it's looking like some of them will be put through to next year.
So we have an approximate list of Amoresco ones for our budget meeting that you would be asking for money for the 2019 season.
I've been spending the last couple of days working on the capital budget. The operating budget was completed last week or the week before. Now the capital budget I'm working on, and I'd say I'm about halfway there. And so I'm hoping to have that finished shortly also, yes.
No other questions? All right. We had a motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Carried. Moving on to the removal of trailers on page 67, 11.1. Get a motion on this. Councillor Stenhouse.
Okay. That council direct administration to place the advertisement in South Peace News that the trailers located at 5813 Birch Crescent and 4808 59th Ave are free, subject to removal within 90 days.
Okay. Councillor Gilroy.
With that motion, I think we probably need something that, unless it's already unspoken, are they to then register with administration so that we know who's taking them? Because it's worded right here, it's just like the subject where you can take them. I'm just thinking that it'd be nice to know who, just so we know that it's gone.
There is a process we have to go through just before the trailers can be removed. Like you need a demolition permit. So the town, as the owners, would have to take out the demolition permit. I didn't make this recommendation in the within the motions, the recommended motions, because just of the timing of the year. So I thought that if we re-advertise till basically spring, and then if they didn't sell, then I could follow up with the motion that Councillor Stenhouse had made to give them away. You'd probably have a better chance of somebody taking them free.
If we take the limit off. Yes. But yeah, because my reasoning for this is like, there's a lot of farmers out there cattle farmers who could use them as calf shelters, storage. And also, I should have said to advertise also, like, maybe the steel yard from Peace River might be interested in the scrap steel from them. They could remove them and recycle them. Because it doesn't look like, well, we've been advertising them for how long? It's
Probably 150 days
at least, yeah. Yeah, and doesn't look like they're going to be moving. But why not let someone local, if they have a use for them, why not let somebody local, like I said, a calf shelter or storage out on a farm or something?
Okay. Councillor Tanaka?
Does anybody know, Terry, do you know what conditions these traders are in? Like, are they habitable or non-habitable or?
The reason that they have not sold is because they are in very, very bad shape. When the assessor had come down and done the assessment, he looked at the outside, he did not look on the inside. The appraiser did look on the inside, and the appraisal is much lower than the assessment. There would have to be a lot of work put into them before they could be made habitable. They are in very bad shape.
So based on that, and based on the real estate suggesting that the land would sell without the traders on them, I don't know if, based on that fact that they're in pretty bad shape, I don't know how much they would work for a farmer as a storage shelter or a cattle shelter. I mean, there is a cost to that, but of $3,500 per trailer plus dumping fees just to A, get rid of them, B, obviously they're an eyesore in that location. So instead of, trying to figure out if somebody's not going to take them, they sit, just get them out of there, period. Just get them out of there, and then try and sell those 2 parcels of land.
Councillor Stenhouse?
You need to do that. She wants your attention.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Good. Yeah.
But why don't we give them the option first? Nobody even knew. Like, a lot of people don't even know these are for sale. So why not advertise locally, give the people an option, a chance to, hey, maybe they do have a use for it instead of just scrapping them.
But were they not advertised in the paper as?
At a higher price.
They were advertised in the paper saying we have these residences for sale on these lots. They were advertised in the paper.
But they're no longer for sale.
And they have been advertised with the real estate agents so people that might be interested should know that they're for sale.
Because they were advertised in the paper.
Yeah.
For sale, but now we want to say we're giving.
Well, we're talking 2 different things here. You're just talking about the trailers versus the
Right.
whole lot. Okay.
Right. My only concern with that is the state of these traders are in. Yes, you're giving them away to somebody if they choose to take it, but I don't know if there's any responsibility that could be put on the town because of the shape that these are in if you give it away and there's some issue. I don't know.
Brian, what did you say about that option? Because you wanted it to be relisted and then look at it again in the spring if they don't sell. So explain again why you said that. What do you have to pay for now? Like the cleanup? Is that afterwards, or what is the concern?
No, I was looking at the actual fees to remove them, like the $3,500. I did get another quote from Clayton Stewart after the fact. Actually, he just sent it in today, and his price was actually $2,900.56 plus GST.
So that's the removal of the trailer.
That's
from
the
lot.
removal and the tipping fees per trailer.
So that would be, so whoever would even take it free would probably have to pay that fee to move it?
No, they could move it themselves if they
They
want.
move it.
In answer to Councillor Danaka's question, I assume you were referring to liability issues? If we sell the trailers as is, the owner would take responsibility of knowing that whatever condition it's in, it's up to them.
But if you give it away,
Same thing.
same thing.
It's just that instead of having a dollar amount for the sale, you might charge them, let's say, $1 just to make it official, but it's basically, it's the same contract as is, but the dollar amount just varies.
I just had a question is, when these trailers have they all been disconnected? And because that's going to have to be a big thing, like disconnected from the water, sewer, power, so they're ready to be moved?
I know the water and the gas have been disconnected for sure.
Okay.
But I would imagine that it's still hooked to the sewer lines or whatever, like
And
underneath the
everything,
trailer,
yeah.
so.
So that would all have to be done
That's on my
properly,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
by who's ever going to move. So what's the drawback, the con to saying, okay, if somebody wants them now and they're willing to come and get them, what's the drawback to that?
Basically, we gotta advertise for a demolition permit. And that's, the town has to do that.
But if they're moving the trailer off, it's not necessarily
It's still a demolition.
Oh, it's still a
Yes.
demolition.
We still remove it off.
Okay, so you move a house, it's considered a demolition.
Yes, yes,
Okay. So the advertising takes how long?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So, but I guess that's still not really. I mean, if we do it now or we do it in the spring, why wouldn't we? Why would we wait if somebody wants
I
it
just
now?
thought it'd be easier to move them in the spring as to move them now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it probably would be.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
You'd probably have more people interested in the spring.
Yeah.
It's a better time to.
But we could try now,
Yeah.
and if they didn't go, we could try later, right?
Yeah.
And my other question, and I'll get to you. I haven't forgot you, but I want to get my questions in. Is the rate that they're giving us, like for the appraised value, that's obviously just for the land, or have they deducted the amount of trying to get rid of the trailer onto that, right?
That's the land and the trailer, appraised value.
Yeah. But they're probably not putting any value on the trailer and probably putting a negative value on having a trailer there because somebody's got to move it off to do something with the land. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Going back to the properties here, I believe that the purpose of it is just to recover taxes. And so with the new appraised value, I'm assuming that would still be over and above our taxes, the taxes in arrears that we're trying to recover?
On one of the properties, yes. On the other one, no. But Municipal Affairs has advised us that we cannot look at what the taxes are. We have to look at what the appraisal is. And we may lose money, but otherwise we have to hang on to it until we can recoup that money. But Municipal Affairs has specifically told us to ignore whatever they owe on taxes and not to consider that in the decision making.
Okay, because all I was going to suggest is if the appraised value was a lot higher than the amount of taxes owed, and that included the unit you want to just, the trailer you want to just take away, couldn't we just put it slightly above and have the land and $1 for the other one, and then just so we recoup the money, because we don't want to have the land. I'm just thinking, as long as the town gets the money back, I don't really.
There's legislation in the MGA that we cannot just choose an arbitrary amount. There are certain conditions we have to follow according to the MGA. We cannot, if the property is worth, let's say, $40,000, we can't sell it for $24,000 or whatever type thing to cover the taxes. We have to sell it for the $40,000. Any money that we get above and beyond what is owed on it goes to the original owner. It goes back to the original owner. Even though we are technically the owner now, any excess money does go to back to the original owner of the place when we took possession. So there's rules in the MGA that have to be followed, and they are very, very picky on that. So we have no choice on that.
So, yeah, just going back to, I think it's, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, in my opinion, to try to see if anybody wants to take the properties off now, and if they do, great, and if they don't, we can market them like, you know, this other recommendation was to go ahead and try to list them for the appraised value, and see if we get nobody to take them, then we go to the plan B, which is to list them until the spring and then try again, because people that have to move it are probably, I agree with you, more likely to want to move it in the spring so they're not freezing their butt outside trying to hook this thing up and getting it out of there. But it doesn't hurt to try, because maybe somebody wants them.
So have they been listed right now at the appraised value, or if you were going to relist them, it would be at a lower value, so there might actually be movement in them?
They were listed at the assessed value.
Yeah. So we actually haven't tried to sell them at appraised value. So there could, and just was trying to clear that up.
Is there any chance that if we give away these trailers, that when we sell the land, that the people that we took the land from as a foreclosure, that they may come back and say, well, even though the trailer wasn't worth much, you owe us more money. I just want to make sure that, you know, that someone's not going to come back and say, well, you know what, you gypped me from...
You gave away my trailer.
Right, and so you lowered the value of the land, and so you're ripping me off. And
As
I'm just
opposed to
very,
what would
I just want to be careful on this one.
Yeah, so municipal affairs rules, can we give away the trailer, or do we have to sell it on the land?
That's exactly what I was referring to in regards to MGA. You have to be very careful. You have to go with a certain value, and they stated it when we talked to them that there was going to be the appraised value. So if we use the appraised value, then the previous owner can't say anything about it.
And the appraised value is trailer plus land, even if the trailer's not there, that's the appraised value.
I'll just use an example. Let's say the property is worth $50,000 with the trailer and land, and it's worth $30,000 without the trailer. Then yes, you would be correct. However, in this case, I'll have to double check, but I do believe it's the reverse. The property is worth more without the trailer on it.
Yeah, because there is a cost to getting that out of there, right? So if we can get it off, as long as, like you say, municipal affairs is all right with us doing that, then I would...
I have asked the property tax clerk to double check with a different municipal affairs advisor and or to get it in writing before anything is done. I don't like these verbal things because different advisors can sometimes say different things, so I want it in writing first. Once it's in writing, then we won't have any problems proving it to whoever needs to be proven to.
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
Well, just how can we make it a viable motion then if we don't know, Terry, yet that it actually can be done? Like, should we be postponing it? Because I mean, whatever we decide, if she doesn't think, like if we approve or support Councillor Stenhouse's motion to give them away for free, but we don't have that backing from municipal affairs.
You just add that to the
Add it to the motion?
With a friendly amendment to Councillor Stenhouse's motion.
So the motion would be, added that it has...
Confirmation from municipal affairs.
With confirmation from municipal affairs.
With written confirmation.
And we should also just as a matter of make sure that we check on the appraised value, that it is less or it is worth more without the trailer on it, so that we don't get into that situation where they're saying, hey, you gave away one of my assets. So that we have that written down too, just to cover the honorable behind. Okay. So we have the motion to give those trailers away to somebody that will move them, and with the amendment that we have approval from municipal affairs. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. High Prairie Pilot Project. Councillor Gilroy?
I move the council approve funding on option 4, which is the southern portion of the High Prairie downtown, the connection out to Big Lakes County office, in the amount of $225,000, with funding to come from the annual capital grant provided each year from Big Lakes County.
Okay. Discussion on this? The only thing I would say is that it's, I'd love to see more done, but we are paying more money that we will not be getting back in a grant or any other source, right? Like if we wait, hopefully by next year there's some more grant dollars available that we might be able to get. The drawback, of course, is, we don't have as much of the town connected right away, but we have a chance at recouping more money later on. So it'd be $74,000 worth that we wouldn't get otherwise, right? When we compare option 1 to option 4, it's a $74,000 difference, and we would lose that money. It would be gone. We wouldn't be able to qualify for a grant on that. So that's my only concern with spending more at this time. Otherwise, I like the idea of doing more of the town. Like that appeals to me. And the other thing with number 1 is I don't understand why we can't do drops on the way to out to the county office. Like they said, no, we wouldn't do drops, it would just be a line, and maybe there'd be a little bit more money if we wanted to do drops along the way. And I know we need to get this done because they wanted to start engineering whichever plan that we select and getting all of the permits that are needed and that sort of thing. I can also add that I know, talking with the county, that they would not want us to go, they didn't approve anything from their perspective without going to the county office. So if we're approving something that doesn't go to their office, that we'd better chat with them, or at least get their feel for it. So a couple of these options do not work for the county, and we'd want to make sure that we talk with them before we did that. Councillor Stenhouse?
Well, my take on this is we're always saying, well, the biggest problem is internet service. And the town is guilty of it as much as the county is. Go on our website, but there's no internet connection to go on the websites to get this. We have to take a step forward and get this internet connection going. Like, we're gonna have to bite the bullet, because it's always like, well, we advertise it on our website, but the people in the county can't get internet to go to read these advertisements. Or even, I live in High Prairie, and my thing is spinning and spinning and spinning trying to connect. Oh, well, it's on our website. Do the survey. Give us your feedback. Go on Facebook. We don't have the connection. So we talk about communication, and how it's the biggest thing, Facebook and all this stuff, but nobody's connected to it.
Councillor Gilroy?
I'm trying to remember if this also was the money we're just approving now, if that included the money we approved earlier that was to, I thought we approved some money for some hardware, a certain amount prior to this, if this is extra, or it was all included. Because we made a motion a while ago that, because we were looking at, I want to make it the Bonnie the Octopus is what I want to say it as, which all the lines come out of, the generating center for lack of better words right now. Was that included in this?
I believe the central office, which is in here for $50,000, the county picked up them fees, all of them.
The motion that
part of their motion.
Yeah, but we made a motion before. How much money did we put aside for this? Do you remember?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe I remember 125,000 out of reserves. I think that's the number.
Yeah, and that would be that amount has not been spent to this point. No. It's to be used on this pilot project. So we've already set aside 125,000.
Looking at an extra 100,000.
Correct. Yeah, to do option 4. Yeah.
The motion, the way the motion reads is the capital grant that we get from the county in the motion. That's basically the $1 million that we're getting from the county. So they pre-approved that we could use that money that we're getting from them for shared projects or projects that are going to benefit both residences, both from the county and the town. So that's why the motion reads from the capital grant.
And they are going to guarantee we get the $1 million, not something less.
No. It's on the linear assessment, according to
Yeah, we haven't had the $1 million for a couple of years now. It's based on the linear assessment, so it's less. And I know that talking with the county when I was at RMA, they are looking at a reduction again from what they had last year in their linear assessment. So they're expecting that that's going to go down, which of course impacts us and Swan Hills too.
You can't really say it doesn't impact us because we never had it up to 2 or 3 years ago. So,
it's all
so it's all basically gravy money for us. And talking with the mayor, I said if we use the $225,000 for this project, the remainder we can always ask them to carry it over to next year, add it to next year's total that they're going to provide us, and we can do a bigger project. You know, it's not like you have to, you know, if we get 800,000 less than 225, the amount remaining may not be enough to be the 50-50 on a capital project that we have picked out to do this year. So we can carry that money over to next year, add it to hopefully the 800 to the $1 million that they're going to give us next year, and do a bigger project next year. So.
Well, the extra cost will certainly generate more interest, that's for sure. It's just then we're a little bit less money for other projects, that's all, that we might get. And the other variable to share a little bit is it's the ATCO's in the game, or they're trying to get some communities to commit to them they'll put in the fiber and then charge you a rental rate on it, almost like what they do with the power lines. You know, they have the line charge or the distribution charge, and whoever can come on and use the network. It would be a totally open network like what we're proposing. But then there's no capital cost, but you pay for eternity a distribution charge.
Do you have any idea what their distribution charge is yet?
He didn't give it to me. I got a chance to talk to that Brian again at RMA, and they said they've got it. They're just finalizing it, but he said it, in his words, it's pretty reasonable, he said. So, yeah.
Have a man to bring it with her.
Yeah.
So how would that impact then this project? Like, that's almost like us derailing it a little bit, do you think, or no? Would that not really?
Not at all. It doesn't derail it. It might speed it up is what would happen, because we wouldn't have to have the capital to get it going. We wouldn't have to apply on grants. But then the flip side of that is then we're paying this distribution versus us owning it. And I keep in my mind this is just my thinking, is that if ATCO can afford to put in the capital and get distribution charges on this, and it's a viable business solution for them, then it should be viable for us to put it in and get the distribution charges back in the long run.
Are they actually looking at laying fiber in the ground, or are they looking at putting it on their poles, right?
Well, it would be both. They would put it on their poles where it's where there are poles, but in like Silverwood Crescent, where we live, there's no power poles. They'd have to dig in the fiber.
So it's more viable for them because they're using their poles versus our project that's all underground.
Our project is not all underground. It's whatever is cheapest and most economical, whether it's using poles or being dug in. Yeah, they're looking at both options to see what's good, but the drawback is that ATCO might not be as willing or to put the fiber on their poles, because they'll say, oh, well, we're overloading the poles. I've heard those stories that they make it difficult.
Talk about the integrity of their poles. Yes.
Exactly. The integrity of the poles. They might not hold this extra cable on there.
Unless they were the one that was...
Unless they were the ones putting it on, then it's probably all right. Councillor Gilroy.
I would, just for the sake of the people who are going to be watching this and for our newspaper here, I would like us, our subcommittee that's working with the county on this, to be able to come back in the near future with with some sort of projection as to the rest of the town. This is downtown. This is not all of High Prairie. And I'd like to be able to be more accountable to the rest of the town, the taxpayers, knowing that we'll be able to give them better dates. So if there's something for us to bring to a committee meeting with that meeting where we meet with them, I think it's very important that we do that, especially when you've got it as the entire hamlet of Joussard is being done at one time, even though it's 1.7 million. Yeah, so I think it's important we do that, and also I'm glad that we can let everyone know that, especially the downtown people, that the money is not coming as an extra tax burden. This is being done out of existing funds that we get, so it won't be added to their tax bill, which I think is a very important part for our council to relay that message.
Okay, Councillor Rose.
So if we approve this motion, do we still have the opportunity to have that conversation with ATCO, or are we eliminating it entirely?
Oh, I'd say we'd still have that opportunity. Yeah. I mean, even if we did the downtown ourselves, I mean, that's a very small portion of our community as a whole. And maybe they were looking for projects and looking at starting in the spring with some communities. So they wanted to identify some communities to work with soon. So they were looking quite soon, and they have been in contact with our consultants on it, Magna and Taylor Warwick. So they've been talking with them already, so they are aware, and I am sure that we'll get an update on what their price is once it's finalized and whether it would make sense for us or not. Okay, so we have a motion to approve option number 4.
Do we need to add anything to say that we've already set aside? Because technically we're only putting an extra 100,000. If you've got 125 out of reserves already done, how's that working?
This is just the cost of the project. We already have some money.
So by doing this, we're not putting extra 225. We're just saying the money we've already.
You're not taking out of reserves right now.
Instead of taking out of the reserves, we're going to be taking out of the funding that's coming. So the motion to take it out of reserves
what's happening with that then?
The money will stay in reserves until council needs it for future part of this project.
Okay.
Or they can change their mind next year and cancel that motion, but it stays in reserves until I'm told otherwise.
Okay, so we're not going to use the reserve money until we actually need them. This money will strictly come out of the money from the county.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with this project, and it's all of downtown into the county, in order for the businesses to avail themselves of this fiber optics and stuff, obviously there's going to be a charge to them to tie in.
Yeah.
Do we know what that charge is?
Not totally yet.
Not totally?
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
There's, one of the factors in that is who is going to get the contract for providing the internet service connection, because it's going to be an outside body, and they're going to be looking after that piece that goes from our line into the house. So that's going to be a charge as identified by the internet service provider. And that hasn't been finalized. There's talk of making it available wide open right now, but there's also some talk of trying to keep it a little bit simpler and just going with one person to get this started and making it easier that way. But then we also realize that if we just give it, a contract to one person, they're the first in the door, and they're going to have a foot in the door and be ahead of anybody else. So we might be, deterring further people from coming in. So it's been a debate there on which way to go. Okay, anything else on this motion? Okay, everybody's clear on what we're voting on? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We have a special meeting request motion, page 73. Oh, did you have your hand up? No, I thought, yeah.
Fine.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Since I've been pushing for this so that people can get paid January 1st, the council approved the date of November 29th, 2018 for a special meeting at 7 p.m. to discuss the 2019 operating budget.
Okay, well, let Ryan speak here.
After I propose that date, it won't work. The mayor, Councillor Rose, and the treasurer are unavailable that night. So if you want to look at tomorrow night,
I rescind my motion.
if you want to look at tomorrow night, we could do it tomorrow night. Up to council.
What's the other option?
After you get back from holidays.
Oh.
So it'll probably be the second week in December.
Yeah, I'm back on the 6th.
And what's the 6th? A Thursday?
It's a Thursday. Yeah. Yeah. So the 6th.
You're probably not back enough time to.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Be the Friday.
Literally, it couldn't be the 6th. It would have to be the 7th or later.
I go through it on the 10th.
The 7th, I believe, is the town Christmas party.
What? Friday?
Monthly activity too, okay.
Well, let's start with the first option there. It was
Tomorrow night?
Does tomorrow work? I got nothing in the evening.
Does that work for you?
Tomorrow doesn't work. Okay. All right, so next option then we're looking at is probably, what about the 10th then? December 10th?
10th works for me.
It's a Monday.
I think I can probably make it.
Sure you can. You like it.
We have our council meeting on the 11th.
We can go through it and then approve it
Yeah, if we're ready.
if we're ready on
Well,
the
that's,
interim budget, operating budget.
but that is our last meeting,
Yes,
unless we had a special meeting
After.
after that. So.
but you got all of the rest of that week and the following week.
Yeah, for a special
For a
meeting.
special meeting.
So, are we good with the 10th? people?
Councillor Long will be back. So
Yeah. So, but Judy, Brian, you guys are
Yeah.
good with it?
I'll put it in now if we're gonna do it.
Okay.
And it's written in stone now.
Well, okay, so we agree, but we need to redo the motion. Do you want to do a friendly amendment to your motion?
I'll make the friendly a friendly amendment. The council approved the date of December 10th,
Monday, December 10th, yeah.
Monday, December 10th, 2018, for a special meeting at 7 p.m. to discuss the 2019 operating budget.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried.
Put it in now. Oh, there we go.
Make that motion.
Councilor Gilroy. Okay, now we have one of the additions to the agenda, which is the National Addictions Awareness Week. And I'll make the motion on this, that council proclaim the week of November 26th to December 2nd, the 2018 National Addictions Awareness Week. And I'll talk on this a little bit, just because one of the representatives from the hospital or AHS approached me and asked if I would sign a proclamation on this, and I said I can't sign a proclamation unless we have council's approval. We usually approve these things, but I didn't want to do anything without them, without our council's approval. So that's why I thought it would be fine. I just wanted to bring it up, and it was more of a phone call that initiated this, but it is a national event that goes on across the country. They just didn't ask us with very good time. The timing is very short, being as it started already. Any questions on this one? No? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Carried.
Do we have it on our sign for St. Mark? Since it's halfway through the week.
We'll have to ask administration.
Yeah, mark it down there. For
Yeah,
Marion.
we'll get it done tomorrow morning.
Okay, moving on to the MMSA Park Plan, the Imperial Oil site. Can I get a motion on that one? Councilor Rose?
The council received the update and proposed park design from MMSA for information.
Okay. Councilor Danaka?
I'm really confused by the motion, because she's really not giving us an update, and the issue involves Mr. Raphael, and obviously he's not affiliated with ESSO. He's from Alberta Environment Parks. Would like to set up a meeting with Mayor Panassa, Councillor Long, Brian Martinson, CAO at Sharia Jamal of MMSA, and the development clerk. So this motion, if we accept it, doesn't give administration the ability to do what they want. If they would like to send some background information to Mr. Raphael, are we setting up a meeting with Mr. Raphael? So this motion really is unrelated to what the discussion is.
Okay, I'll turn it over to him to answer that.
We received Alicia's proposal, and after we received it, put it in the agenda, and then I had the phone call, so I amended the request for decision slightly. And this gentleman is from Athabasca, and he wants to come in and sit with us and give us some options on maybe the possible cleanup of this lot here. He basically advised me at this time to discuss at the meeting whether or not we should be even entering into a agreement or whatever, a lease with Imperial Oil. And he wants to find out the council's intentions of what they would like to see with that lot. So, and I basically told him, ideally, what we'd like to see is have Imperial Oil clean it up, reclaim the site, sell it, have a business come in, purchase it, build there, our tax base would grow. So that's in the perfect world. So the meeting's, I believe, on the 5th of December at like 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Yeah.
So, but
what I'm saying is this motion, the council received the updated and the proposed park design. There is no update in park design that we're accepting for information in this background proposal and the discussion. Other than what's in here, but it's unrelated to what your discussion is what I'm saying.
This next meeting you're talking about.
I think the other way to look at this is that this is just an information update for council.
Okay.
To say, this is where
we're at?
This is
Okay.
where we're at.
Okay. All right.
Does that make more
Yes.
sense when you look at it from
Yes.
Yeah, because I agree with what you're saying. You're going, well, is this permission to give a copy of our plan to?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yes. Okay. All right. We're good then.
okay. And Councillor Gilroy, you had your hand up.
Basically, should, as I said, it looks like you're just adding an extra person to the mix. And in this particular case, should council actually be able, should we be the ones giving the authority to be in the meeting here that would allow all the other work we've done to be shared with Norbert? Do we have to give any permission for that? So you're not asking, you're just basically letting us know that you're going to have a meeting, and then you're going to reply. You're going to come back to us with the information on it, and up and now we're just going to listen to what's been written here, and you give us a final date after the meeting, right? Okay.
And just an update, I'm not back on the 5th, but I've talked with Deputy Mayor Courtley, and he could attend this meeting, so he would attend on my behalf.
Norbert had requested you to be at the meeting.
Yeah.
I said initially you weren't in the meetings, it was Councillor Long.
Yeah.
With MMSA, but he requested the mayor, so.
Okay.
I said I would invite you if I did. But then I didn't realize that you were going to be on.
Yeah. Okay, we have the motion to receive for information. All those in favor? Carried. We're moving on to the subdivision of the old hospital site. Councillor Stenhouse.
Before we make a motion on that, I'm on the I'm on the subdivision committee. Should I be involved in this discussion?
Like if there's a new subdivision, and this is a, yeah.
Reflect all of them. Probably should abstain.
So she'd have to leave for the discussions on this.
Yeah, me and I when are on the subdivision, so
So
before
we
you
still
have
have,
any discussions on
we
it.
still have quorum? Abstain
Yeah.
Take a little copy of your one. I was just going for a small.
That was good, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. We're not gonna be that long. All right. So we still need a motion on this. Councillor Rose?
The council approved the proposed subdivision at the old hospital site, 44453 53rd Avenue. 4444 53rd Avenue.
All right. So my question is, why is this in our council? Just, I want to understand the process here. Why is it coming to us?
When Marion contacted MMSA, we had two options. We could either take it to the MPC or to all of council. And generally, all of council have been doing this for the last few years. So.
But if any subdivision in town has to do one of those two?
Yes.
Okay.
So I could have chosen either one, so I choose all of council.
Councillor Gilroy?
My concern with this is that AHS is initiating it, but what does that do to our ability to get them to do anything else on the old hospital? Do we lose any sort of leverage? Thank you. Do we lose any sort of leverage by allowing them to get what they want without us getting what we want? I hate sounding mean, but I want them to actually do something with the old hospital. And if they don't have to because they've got land they want, what's their incentive to finish off the rest of the land?
Go ahead.
As administration and receiving a subdivision, we have so many days to react and approve of the subdivision. So regardless of your wanting to sway Alberta Health Services, there's nothing we can do at this time. We have to go through the approval process, and we're mandated by the MGA to provide the answers at a timely manner, and I believe it's around 40 days. So
we can't approve it with the condition they tear down the hospital? It says approved with conditions.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to have any leverage effect. Just because, number one, they already own both of these things, and they're going to say, well, if you don't subdivide this, we're not going to tear down the hospital. This is the first step in enabling the hospital to come down because they don't want to lose the nurses' residence. So if we don't do this, they're not taking down the hospital, for sure. We know that. So I don't think it's any leverage. They don't want the hospital there. They just don't have the money to do it. Well, they could get the money. It's not the will to do it. So at this point in time. All right, so we have a motion to accept it. Any other questions? No? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? So we can invite, do you want to invite Judy back in? So. Shall we take a break now? And are you guys ready for one? Come back? Okay, we'll take our break now.
If you have anything for MMSA, let me know. I have my meeting with them Friday.
Okay.
Are you considered a notary?
Yeah, I think so are you. Yeah. there's a notary and